Hello everybody and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today we're going to be taking a look at a 4 versus 4 that was recently played on Theta Crystals. Theta Crystals, it's a fun one. It's got, well, Theta Crystals all over the place here. It's an excellent energy source for the early game, definitely rocketing commanders forward here in this very special 4 versus 4 format. Usually we take a look at 8 versus 8, but 4v4s tend to put a little bit more emphasis on each individual player, right? You essentially have double the economy is one way to look at it, because rather than 8 people splitting the economy up, you have 4. Definitely means that each person on the field is going to have way more control over one section of the map and one type of unit. I'm expecting to see a dedicated air player from each team. I'm expecting to see essentially one player contesting each lane here on Theta Crystals. We'll get into that in just a second here after we meet our blue team leader. Semimone's going to be the blue team leader here, hailing with 8 true skill, a bit of a lower level match here. 8 true skill going to be showing us what they've got on the bot labs here. One of the reasons why I wanted to take a look at this match, of course, is because it's a lower level game, so maybe we can offer some advice, figure out some things together that we can all work on to better ourselves, close out matches quicker, figure out where the proper strategies are, figure out the right unit counters, all that sort of good stuff. Now, all the way across the map here, representing the red team is Joebug, also spawning as an Armada commander and spawning up here on the northern side of the red team. Now, this is already interesting. Julian0717 has not decided to go into air here. We do have an air player, Technic or Technic-Q. We'll go with Technic here. The Cyan commander has gone into Cortex Air, which is much more standard. Basically what I was expecting to see was an air player in the backline for each of these teams, because on this map there are these high ground metal extractors that are really difficult to claim unless you have a transport to go fly up there and claim them. Maybe not that one per se, but certainly this one here and maybe this one over on this side. Yeah, definitely valuable to get those claimed as quick as possible, because they're also really difficult to contest. So, of course, building a little bit of a fortification up there, maybe an LLT, some anti-air turrets, all that good stuff, means that that metal extractor will be really difficult to blast down, short of maybe sending in bombers or gunships or anything like that. Now, already, aggression across the map from the red team is fabulous. Yeah, we have Rascals in the backline here, already taking apart the base of Slink 1. Similarly, we have Ticks up on the northern side here from Joebug, gonna snatch a metal extractor, some of them moving into the backlines here as well. Dusta Pilar, the green commander, going to be moving the commander into position here to try and deflect some of this, and will eventually manage to thwart those Ticks from going into the backline. But there are still a couple of grunts coming across too. We snag a kill on the constructor right here. That's really nice as well, slowing down the expansion for Semimone's, and that's going to be a nice little bit of aggression for the early game. Certainly not game winning yet, but an excellent start here. Just about as good as it gets. Ooh, a little bit of an APM slip right there from the purple commander. Slink 1 losing control over that rascal here. Wow, and went back for the kill. Brutal. We get the metal extractor, we get the rascal, and we get away with it all. Tick still in the backline here, blowing apart metal extractors. This is exactly what you're hoping for a Tick. Any metal extractor you can kill, going to be fabulous. If you can't manage to, then basically any damage is still going to be effective. Another constructor down. Wow, these grunts have been really efficient at taking down those constructors, denying the expansions right here for Semimone's. And this is slowly but surely looking like a fabulous example of early game aggression right now from the red team. You can see up by about, I want to say 12 metal per second or so for the red team. Nothing monstrous yet, but over time that advantage can certainly become pressing. Here we go. Tick once again microed in the backline. Typically, here's already a good learning point here. One of the best ways to micro these is to queue up a bunch of fight commands. So if you hit F to enter your fight command mode and then you left click, you can queue up a bunch of fight command points. What you can do is queue up fight commands between the different metal extractors, and it'll automatically run between them once it finishes killing the metal extractor. It's a really low APM way of queuing a Tick to go harass all these metal extractors, so you don't have to accidentally worry about stalling out in the backline here. Just one thing of note here. Slink 1 going for some of those guarded expansions. So instead of just plopping down the metal extractor, going for the naked expand, quote unquote, we're going to be going for LLTs on top of all these. It slows down your expansion quite a lot more than I think a lot of people realize. But it does mean that you're going to be a little bit more resistant to Tick run-bys and that sort of thing. That being said, I think we're almost out of that era of the game. Yeah, we're moving into tanks right here for Yemeni, the orange commander here on the southern side. Go ahead and adjust the music, by the way. Got some comments that the music was a little bit loud in one of the recent videos, so I'll go ahead and turn that down just in case. Obviously don't want to overpower the dulcet sounds of bombers and whatnot flying around in this game. There's an aircon moving around right here. Technic grabbing all these mexes that he can. Gonna be coming all the way over here. Okay, not the end of the world. Actually, I like grabbing these forward ones first. Yeah, that's actually a really good move. Grabbing the forward mexes first. Those are going to be the harder ones to maintain, so extracting value from those first before the other ones. That actually makes a lot of sense. Now, Yemeni has pushed pretty far forward right here, but has essentially no contest. I mean, we have a single blitz on the field and a rascal, or a rover, pardon me, the Armada rascal, going up against a whole bunch of incisor tanks right here. Yemeni's got to feel pretty comfortable about this, but of course that comes at the knowledge that there's a bunch of stuff over here. So the radar tower lying a little bit about how much force there actually is built up over here. It looks like there's a tremendous force. Really, it's a couple LLTs and some pawns. All an army that I think Yemeni would be more than comfortable pushing into with some of these light laser tanks. Slink 1 moving very far forward without the accompaniments of an army. I'm a little worried that these tanks are going to snag their first kill of the game. And it's going to be a commander. Now Slink 1 in a lot of trouble. I think we could have gone for the kill right there, but instead, Yemeni gonna opt for pulling back right here. Ooh, killer D-guns right there from the purple commander, blowing apart more and more of those light laser tanks, and now we are forced back at this point. Little bit of indecisiveness right there from the orange commander, not realizing that this purple commander is completely exposed. Yeah, we could jump on top of this with the incisors, and we would have ourselves a free 1.25 thousand metal lying in ruin right there on the front lines. Rodriguez, the yellow commander, repairing up some of the orange troops, or some of the red troops, pardon me. We are getting up to aggravators here, but holding this hill is quite nice. Holding over this hill is quite nice right here. So this position for the red team is really important. Eventually, aggravators will whittle all of this down, all the LLTs, all that sort of stuff, but fighting up the hill is definitely a whole lot harder than fighting down the hill, especially now that we have thugs up on the field. They're plasma-based, so they get a little bit of an advantage from being up on the high ground here. They can fire downwards, whereas otherwise, they would have to fire upwards, and, well, you know, physics, that old son of a gun, always ruining our upwards versus downwards fights, I suppose. Little bit of a run by over here. A couple of incisors trying to sneak by. I like to see it. There we go. Managing to snag a metal extractor, that's definitely worth it. LLT will eventually clean most of this up. Was it worth it? I guess, yeah, about 100 metal per incisor right there. 236 for the joint combination of them. Expensive to lose both of those for a metal extractor, but the longer this metal extractor is down, obviously, the more value we're going to get here. More incisors rolling around, though. We need to keep these queues extending. That's one thing that I'm seeing here consistently between all of the red team. Keeping these queues extended so that we're constantly queuing between metal extractors so we don't accidentally forget about our troops. Jump by the pawn units moving forward right here. Actually going to be well defended. Yeah, the aggravators falling back to the cover of their LLTs right here will mean that they don't end up going down. Big mace push coming forward right here from the blue commander. Samimon's been working on this mace push for a good long while, and now there's finally enough forces, I suppose, to pull the trigger and send these bad boys forward. They will do quite a lot of damage over here. There's a gauntlet up on the high ground. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah, that's a great position for that gauntlet. Actually firing away into the background right here. Mace is doing a lot of damage, but also depositing their corpses right here under red control. We need to break all these units and probably snag a commander kill in order to make this well worth it. Joe Bug going for a beamer turret up here. Don't mind that whatsoever. This radar tower actually blocking the sightline of the gauntlet. This is something I see all the time, is these radar towers blocking sightlines. You definitely need to move that backwards and go ahead and... Oh, well, there you go. Cleared up right there very nicely by the bombers coming over the hill and depositing their whirlwind heavy impulse bombs directly onto this gauntlet right here. Lovely stuff. And we need resbots. This is part 1 of the offensive. Part 2 should definitely be resbots, trying to reclaim as much of this resource as possible here. Mace is slowly petering out. That defender's advantage of units coming out of the lab and being to the front lines a lot quicker on the red side now that we're over the hill. It's going to start to mount. And as we move forward, we have to be very, very careful about the way that we reinforce this army. We desperately need the resbots, though, yeah. Without the resbots, this is essentially free metal deposited on the red side of the map here. We haven't killed very many metal extractors. We do kill one commander here, so that's really nice. Yellow commander going down means that if we can control all that metal, that'll be a nice little boost of economy right here. Desta Pilar, the green commander, in position to reclaim all that. Going to be under a little bit of fire right now from some yellow thugs. Not the end of the world. D-gun. D-gun. There we are. D-gun to blast away some of these troops here. We're risking it all for the wreckages here. Might have to D-gun that wreckage and get out of there. This gauntlet position up here is quite imposing. Not doing a lot of damage in any one burst, but slowly whittling down the forces over here, petering out this push. Resbot for the red team, the yellow player specifically, will get a hold of all that metal from the commander going down. And that advantage suddenly turns right back into the red teams. And this is the importance of those resbots. 2 or 3 resbots cleaning up this entire wreckage field right here would have meant that this push was extremely, extremely effective, turning all of your opponent's metal into your own, meanwhile recycling your own units into a bigger and bigger army. But without the resbots to clean up all of this battlefield right here, it's definitely a critical oversight. And we've essentially negated all of the advantage that we've gotten here. Now Aggravator's going to try and push up this very narrow bridgeway. Heavy Laser Tower going to be pretty good for thwarting their advances here. Walking to their doom. Oh, yep, Gauntlet going to blast away any obstacles in its pathway. Finally clearing itself to fire over here, and it will start firing away. This little choke point actually makes it really difficult for units to push forward here. Not that they are pushing forward, but if they try, there we go. Finally, they will. It's going to be quite costly. D-Gun also really menacing, of course. D-Gun into a choke point, going to be very powerful. Heavy Laser Tower being constantly repaired right here. Gauntlet doing AoE damage to all these units. Oh no, this is not efficient to break whatsoever. I think what we want here is 100 pawns to swarm up to this high ground and just surround the commander. The commander's a walking nuclear bomb, so we want to make sure that we can jump on top of that whenever possible. Big old engagement on the southern side, by the way. The orange commander going down, jumped on by a bunch of medium tanks and blitzes right here, but its commander explosion will take down all of those units right here in purple, meaning that Slink 1 is now left exposed, while the orange commander has already managed to pull out a T2 transition. Very nicely done. Using that really rapid expansion into this lower side in order to fund that T2 transition. That's exactly the advantage that that early economic lead can get you. Transitioning into a T2 lab just a little bit quicker than your opponent, but often those first T2 units that come out on the field can be the most important. Vanisher tank gonna have a field day blasting away a bunch of this here. Heavy tanks likewise just gonna be splendid for dealing with any of this. There you go. You can see those Banisher missiles really, really good for dealing with all of that stuff. This wreckage field is growing. For the record, 4.66 thousand metal lying on the field right here. I would say about half of that on each side of this, and maybe probably more of it actually on the red side of things. Definitely would be to the red team's advantage, well, to any team's advantage to reclaim all that. I know I'm harshing on it a lot, but it's really important to get that reclaim up and running. If there's one note to take away from this sort of battle, it's that reclaim is key. Destapilar forced to retreat the aggravators here, that, again, reinforcing advantage of these units coming out of the lab and then making their way towards the front lines a little bit quicker means that we will eventually be able to push this back for our red and yellow leaders. Joe Bug holding strong up on the high ground, the gauntlet that could. 28 confirmed kills to its name. It's rare that a gauntlet gets my seal of approval, but this one has certainly gotten its value. It's an excellent position. It's managed to hold its own. And now it's in a pretty key position here. Banishers connecting with commanders. Ooh, that hurts. 67% for Slink 1 after just a single rocket from that Banisher. Love the inclusion of just a single Banisher, maybe 1 or 2 of them. They're perfect for long-range harassment like this. You can continue to harass down units and structures and all sorts of stuff like that without really having to overcommit to these bad boys. They're 1,000 metal apiece, so quite expensive in order to fire those. But they are very, very useful. A very specific pointed tool, but very powerful. Similar, I guess you could compare it to a Starlight, for instance. Single big burst of damage. Don't fire nearly as frequently, and they're quite a bit more mobile. Certainly some differences between the two. You pay quite a premium on energy as well for the Starlight. Still a T1 battle over here, though. That's destined to change right now as the red team, or the red leader, pardon me, has gone into T2. We have those T2 mexes coming up and online. Still very confident in this front line, though. Yeah, no reason to really go into crisis mode and start spamming out T2 units. We're comfortable to just keep producing T1. As long as we're still fighting with the T1 army over here, more than happy with just upgrading those T2 mexes, continuing to scale the eco, and I think that's exactly what we should be doing. Commander up in this high ground should probably be used for reclaim here. Tons and tons of metal right now this commander could be mopping up. T1 forces are slowly dwindling out. Destapilar has not ceased production yet. We are still on T1, and we're just spamming out as many of these T1 units as we can up to the front lines right now. It's a critical moment where if we kill all the T1 units right here defending the red team, and then we manage to push forward, we could kill a huge number of these metal extractors back here, but that advantage is negated by the fact that we're going for T2 mexes, which are 4 times as efficient as those T1s. So for every 4 mexes you kill right here, you could replace them. Well, I guess 3 mexes you kill right here, you could replace with a single T2 mex in the backline. Makes it very, very tricky to keep up with that T2 advantage. Meanwhile, the slow but steady grind has continued pushing forward right here from Yemeni, continuing with this very nice composition right here. It's just a couple of banishers mixed in with a bunch of heavy tanks. Very, very sturdy, very difficult to break. Slink 1 forced to evacuate the base right here. Gonna be walking the commander forward while cloaked. Not enough energy to fund all that. And just like that, the base of the purple commander has been ravaged. We need forces over here to deal with it, but we just don't have any. We have a T2 air lab up and running right now for the blue commander, but we're going for a fusion reactor on the back of a bunch of bombers. Both very energy intensive, means neither will be able to finish. Oh no, there we go. We paused the lab at the very least. The fusion reactor might have a chance here. Still already way more damage than I think the blue team was really prepared for. Welder's going to start coming up to this front lines right here. Plenty of thugs produced by the yellow commander, who's essentially just holding the front line while that T2 comes online right now for the red commander. Still no T2 transition right here for the blue, though. And that slow creeping technological gain has eventually petered out right here for the blue team. T1 just nowhere near as efficient as T2, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here. This T2 having a field day blasting apart the T1 with basically no issue. Every banisher missile fired is a unit dead. Heavy Tigers way too sturdy for those thugs to deal with. Efficiently, anyways. We have T2 fighters in the air, and that's nice and all. But they're not really able to get much value. Here we go. Heavy bomber now coming out right now. Do we have any air player? No. So we don't have an air player for the red team still. What that means is that this bomber is going to have free reign to completely obliterate everything on this front line here. If it bombs them correctly. Obviously, bombing against the grain right here, sort of long ways against this army, is going to be much more valuable because you'll connect with basically everything on the path. It's not bad, but it's not a very quick solution. Yeah. There we go. We do have some fighters coming out now. Hot Pink Commander producing some fighters and sending them forward here. We did have some orange fighters somewhere. Not sure how those ended up being up here. Maybe handed out from somebody else, but anyways. Welders on the front line. We do also have a Recluse produced and sent out to the front line right there. I accidentally rhymed that, but I guess that makes it even more true. Finally, Resbots reclaiming all this battlefield. And look how much metal there still is. 2,000 metal in just this wreckage here alone. All of that going to turn into T2 units, and it's a slow but steady, creeping technonomic advantage. There we go. There's your new word of the day. Your Brightworks word of the day, technonomic. Economic, technological advantage. Thugs moving forward. Still finding some value here, as we haven't made a T2 transition for Destapilar. At this point in the game, far behind the tech curve. And it can definitely be hard to get back in. Once you've lost that technological lead, sometimes it spirals so far out of control that if you don't have a way to get back in, if you have no metal in the bank, if you have no labs to eat up, if you have no commander to sacrifice, there's no Hail Mary play you can really go for. You can suddenly find yourself without a real way to scale into a T2 economy. Sometimes you can be saved by your teammates if they're prepared for it and they can handle a T2 scale for another player here. T1 fighters sent across the map right now. Going to try and shoot down these gunships here, tickling them to death very, very slowly. Any amount of fighters over there, any amount of T2 fighters should win that fight. But it doesn't matter. The Orange Commander, with their advantages, continued pressing right here. Semimon's in a lot of trouble. Again, no T2 transition is the folly of this game. And just like that, Semimon's... Oh, doesn't fall? There we go. We're going back for seconds here. Boom goes the Blue Commander, and that seals the fate of the Blue Team General. A lovely little match right there, showcasing the importance of reclaim and technological advancement here, and the red team will be the one to seal the deal. Thanks a ton for watching. Let me know if there was anything that I missed down below in the comment section that you wanted to point out. Always happy to take a look at these fan-submitted games on my Discord, which there's a link to down below in the description section, and I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody, and I'll see you next time.